Salutations to all our future judges. In this video, we are going to see Indian Evidence Act 1872. But before going into the video, I'd like to make few requests to our viewers as well as the subscribers. Kindly do not skip the video. Watch the video from the beginning till the end. If you skip in between, you may be missing very crucial information or very crucial aspects which have been explained. Hence, watch from the beginning till the end. And next request is, please do have a notebook and a pen with you, because various questions which have been asked in Evidence Act in various exams would be mentioned or would be stated. And in addition to this, idea would be given as to how questions could be framed in a particular section. It is very important for you. So you all need to make a note of all these aspects. And in addition to this, some additional illustrations would also be given while teaching the act. Hence, you please make a note of all those additional illustrations as well. They would be of absolute help to you in understanding the particular section. And in addition to this, various ways or techniques would be taught which would help you to remember those sections, or to say some memory techniques would be given. This would be really helpful to you in remembering the sections when you go to the exam. I hope this video would be of absolute and great utility to you. Now, we'll move to chapter 6 of the exclusion of oral by documentary evidences. Section 91. Let us try to understand this particular section in a very simple and easy manner. If there is a contract or grant or other disposition of property which is put in writing, and the law stipulates that this should be put in writing, it is very clear the law states so. In that case, as an evidence, we should produce that particular document to the court. Or the other option is, secondary evidence can also be given if it is provided by law. Now there are certain exceptions with respect to this particular section 91. Let us see what are all those exceptions. The first exception is, imagine a situation where there is a public officer. He is appointed by way of writing. His appointment is by way of writing. So this particular public officer goes to that particular office in which he is appointed. He goes and sits there and is performing his duty or doing his job. So in that case, when he started doing his job as an officer, in that case, the writing based on which he was appointed need not be proved. And the second exception is, wills admitted to probate in India may be proved by probate. If a probate is granted with respect to a will, that is sufficient. The will is deemed to be accepted. That is exception 2. Explanation 1. Now let us try to understand or imagine a situation where there is a contract which has plenty of clauses in it, and these clauses are split into 3 different documents. So in that case, what we would generally presume or what we'll generally try to understand is, in both the cases, the obvious fact is that this section will apply. So put it in a simple form. If a contract is split into 3 parts, in all those cases, this particular section will apply. Or if it is in a single part, even then this particular section will apply. And the explanation 2 says, where there are more than one original, so you need to prove only one original. Let us try to understand this by way of an example. Imagine there are 3 partners who are signing agreements. So what they do is, they prepare 3 agreements which contain the same contents. All these 3 documents have the same contents. There is not even a single change with respect to the contents. Practically they have been xeroxed. We can imagine like that. So in that scenario, we need to prove only one original before the court. That is sufficient. Now let us move to explanation 3. In this particular explanation 3, we'll understand that if there is a statement which is given, and that statement relates to a fact which is not mentioned or referred in this section, so in that case, that particular fact can be proved by oral evidence. They're given various illustrations. Those illustrations will give us a better idea of understanding this particular section. Let us move to those illustrations. If there is a contract, imagine I am sending a letter to someone else saying that today I am going to buy so and so product from you. The next day I am sending another letter saying that I am going to buy the said product for this amount of rupees. On the third day I am sending another letter saying that these are the conditions which you should comply before sending those goods to me. So in this case, each and every letter is considered to be a contract, and all of them combined together forms a complete union of a particular work. So in that case, all the letters should be proved. Now let us move to the next illustration, B. So if the contract is in a bill of exchange, then the bill of exchange must be proved. Now let us move to illustration C. If there is a bill of exchange and that is drawn in set of 3. To simply understand this, there are 3 original bill of exchanges. The same things are reflecting in all the bill of exchanges. It is like 3 originals, that's all. So in that case, only one need to be proved. That is illustration C. Now let us move to illustration D. This particular example is very, very important. Many times questions have been asked from this particular example in various states during the preliminary examination. So please try to understand this in a proper manner. So if there is a contract in writing with B, so A is having a contract with B for delivery of indigo upon certain terms. He is saying like these are all the terms which you need to follow, and B is also accepting it. In that particular contract, there is a fact which is mentioned saying that B had paid A the price of other indigo. See, for example, they are having a regular contract. Regularly, this A is sending indigo to B. Regularly, he is doing it. So now he is signing a contract. In that particular contract, he is saying previous occasion, B had paid me the price of other indigo. Contracted for verbally. He is saying like previously it was a verbal contract. It is mentioned in this particular contract. So in that case, oral evidence can be offered that no payment was made for the other indigo. So try to understand this. There are 2 situations. Now I am signing a contract with one person B saying that you deliver me indigo on these terms. In that particular contract I am saying that you had paid me so and so rupees for a previous transaction, which was a verbal agreement. So now with respect to that verbal agreement, I can produce oral evidence. That is what this example is trying to explain. Now let us move to illustration E. A gives B a receipt for money paid by B. If oral evidence is offered with respect to the payment, the evidence is admissible. Generally, what we think is, if a receipt is given with respect to the money paid, we generally think that oral evidence will not be accepted. However, in this particular scenario, oral evidence, if offered with respect to the payment, the evidence is admissible. Now, let us move to section 92. Exclusion of evidence of oral agreement. So, the basic factors: if a particular contract or grant or other disposition of property has been proved according to the last section, that is section 91. In that case, no evidence of any oral agreement or statement shall be admitted. Once it is proved according to 91, you cannot prove anything by oral agreement under this particular section, which will vary, contradict, add or subtract the terms with respect to that contract. So, once a contract or grant or disposition is proved under section 91, you cannot vary it, you have to agree it. However, there are certain situations which are provided here where you can do this. Now let us move to Proviso 1. In this Proviso, they clearly say that if a particular act is done by way of fraud, intimidation, illegality, or without due execution, or without the capacity of the contracting party, or there is no consideration or mistake of fact or law. So in these scenarios, what you would see is the particular document automatically becomes invalid. So in that case, you can apply this particular section. Now let us move to Proviso 2. The existence of any separate oral agreement as to any matter on which the document is silent. Imagine there is something which has been agreed orally. You have not mentioned it in the document, you have missed it. So now both the parties agree, okay, we'll do it like this. We are not mentioned in the document, but still we'll do it like this. And that particular aspect should not be inconsistent with the terms of the agreement what we have signed. In that case, oral agreement can be proved. That is an exceptional case. So the court shall always have regard to the degree of formality of the document. So court, they will see what is the formality of the document, or how the document is prepared, or what is the degree in which the document is being prepared, based on which the court will make a decision. That is Proviso 2. Now let us move to Proviso 3. The existence of any separate oral agreement constituting a condition precedent to attaching of any obligation under any such contract. So now you are entering into a contract. Before entering into this particular contract, you had an oral agreement with somebody, or the person with whom you are signing an agreement. So in that case, oral agreement can be proved. That is Proviso 3. In Proviso 4, we will see that if there is a subsequent oral agreement, a contract is made, subsequent to that there is an oral agreement to modify this agreement or rescind this agreement. So in that case, oral agreement can be proved. However, if the law states that this particular condition or the contents of the oral agreement should be put in writing, in that case, oral agreement cannot be proved, because it is compulsory that oral agreement cannot be accepted and it should be in writing, because the law stipulates so. So in that case, oral agreement cannot be proved or cannot be accepted. Now let us move to Proviso 5. In some scenarios, we will see that there will be some usage or custom between the parties where they will generally annex certain aspects to the contract. It will not be inside the contract, it will be annexed to the contract. In that case, the oral agreement will help to prove that particular incident or the annexed part. However, this annexed part should not be repugnant or inconsistent with the terms of the contract. That is what is stated in Proviso 5. Let us see what is Proviso 6. If there are certain facts in the document. Now, to prove these facts with respect to the manner the language of a document is drafted, to simply say what the document contains or the manner in which the document has been framed, any fact with respect to this can be proved. That is Proviso 6. Now let us move to illustrations. The first illustration, or the illustration A, states that if there is a policy of insurance which says that I am insuring the ships which are traveling from Calcutta to London. The goods are shipped in a particular ship which is lost. However, imagine a scenario that this ship was not traveling from Calcutta to London, it was traveling from Calcutta to some other place. So in that case, the insurance company has orally stated that it's no problem if it is traveling from Calcutta to, say, New York also, it's fine with me. I'll give you insurance. So in that case, the fact that a particular ship was orally accepted, there was an exception which was given to that particular ship from the policy, cannot be proved. This is a very important illustration. Now let us move to illustration B. So in this case, A agrees to pay B rupees 10,000 on the 1st of March 1873. At the same time, an oral agreement is made between these two parties, saying that money will not be paid till 31st March. So in that case, this oral agreement cannot be proved. This particular illustration is very important. Imagine a situation, there is an estate called as Rampur Tea Estate. So somebody is selling this estate to some other person along with a map of the property. This map does not contain certain areas. However, these areas were being enjoyed as a part of the Rampur Tea Estate. So whoever is getting this deed or getting this tea estate transferred will also enjoy those lands. However, this deed cannot be proved because the document does not contain these particular places which are not governed under the map. That is illustration C. Now, let us move to illustration D. There is one person by name B. He goes to A and says that, see, I have plenty of mines where you can get or you can make crores of money by extracting the contents in that mine. And he also believes this. And he says like, okay, let us enter into a contract. Based on his misrepresentation, this A enters into a contract. So in that case, this fact that B had made a misrepresentation can be proved. That is illustration D. Now let us move to illustration E. There is one person A who has instituted a suit against B for specific performance of a contract. And in that he is making a prayer saying that there is a clause or there is a provision in that contract which is actually done by mistake or inserted by mistake and it needs to be reformed. Then in that case, this person needs to prove to the court that law entitles him to have that particular provision reformed or changed. That is illustration E. Now let us move to illustration F. One person by name A, he orders goods with B by way of a letter. However, in that letter nothing is said with respect to time of payment. So now this A accepts the goods when it is delivered, but he has not paid the money. Now this B goes and sues A for the price. He's saying like, you pay me the price, whatever you're due to pay. So in that case, this A may show that goods were supplied on credit for a term which is still unexpired. This is illustration F. Illustration G. A sells B a horse and he verbally says that the horse is sound, it is in good condition. And A gives B a paper which contains these words, bought of A horse of rupees 500. So now this B may prove the verbal warranty. Imagine that horse is not sound or that horse is not well. In that case, this B may go to the court and prove whatever was assured to him verbally, it is not there, or the horse is not sound. Let us move to illustration H. The B is a lodge owner and A hires the lodgers from B. And this B gives a card to A saying that rooms rupees 200 a month. That is what is stated in that particular card. So in this case, A may prove a verbal agreement. What happened between A and B? There could have been a verbal agreement between A and B, and this verbal agreement were to include partial board. He can prove this verbal agreement. Now, in the same example, if A hires lodgings of B for a year, and in that he is putting a perfect agreement, stamped agreement, which is drawn by an attorney. So in that case, this particular agreement is silent on the subject of board. In that case, A may not prove that the board was included in the term verbally. If there is no agreement, verbal agreement can be proved. If there is a perfectly stamped agreement, the aspects which are silent cannot be proved. Now let us move to illustration I. In this particular illustration I, a person A, he is sending a receipt for the money to B with respect to a debt which is due. However, this B keeps the receipt and does not send the money. He was actually supposed to send the money and receiving this particular receipt, but he didn't do it. In a suit for the amount, A may prove this fact. Now let us move to illustration J. A and B make a contract in writing to take effect upon the happening of a certain contingency. This particular writing is left with B. B is having this particular written document. In that case, he can sue A upon it. And in that case, A may show under what circumstances the particular writing was delivered to B. With this, section 92 is completed. I hope you would have liked the video. If you like the video, please do press the thumbs up button and do share the video with your friends and motivate them. If you are not subscribed the channel, please do subscribe the channel and share the channel with your friends. If you feel that I've left something in this video or you want me to change the way in explanations are given for the sections, please do let me know by way of comments. Let us join hands together and contribute for a learned society. Thank you.